Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. It's about 6 p.m. I was trying not to collide with Kempire because I know a lot of people love to go watch his show as well. But I was like, you know what? I need to collide with some people just to see how well people like me over here. And it appears that Kempire is still on top. Okay. um, at any rate, I'm just going to get right in it and you all can catch me on the replay. Um, I'm going to be, let's see, what was I going to say here? One of the things, this is Love and Marriage Huntsville, season 3, episode 12, and it's called Big Depression Energy. That's what Own Network and Carlos King and all of those people named this episode. And I want to just say that, when you are a content creator, um, the shows that you review do take work. Many of us watch the shows more than once. I know for me, I watch it 3 times because the first time I watch it, I don't take notes. The second time I watch it, I take a little bit of notes. And then I will watch it a third time, just to take more notes. And it still needs perfection. And one of the things I have noticed about me as I listen back to my vlogs is I still have issues saying, you know, and so. I have got to catch that. I used to be real good at catching the repetitiveness of words that I say when I am providing a speech or doing a commentary. I'll try to look out for it on this video. However, you may hear me say it anyway. So let's get right into it, okay? The men are in the kitchen frying up some steak and onions. Delicious. I remember my dad and my uncle used to fry up steaks and onions and peppers and all that stuff in the kitchen. Those T-bones used to be good. But as I have, grown older, I do not eat steak. I don't like it. There is a brother in my church who makes the best steak in the world. I will eat his. But other than that, I'm not real big on steaks and meats and stuff. I will eat like salmon. I love a really good grilled salmon or a seared salmon. I digress. Did you notice in the kitchen when the fellas were all in the kitchen, you had the 3 M's and no L. That is Marsau, Martell, Maurice, and no Lewis. Lewis was not invited to the steak meal. And that may have something to do with the fact that Mar- M- Marceau, all these M's, I tell you, these M's are really getting on my nerves, and they are all MAR something. I, Marceau, I think that Marceau had some reservations about inviting Lewis, possibly, and I'm just surmising here or alleging. You know, in the last episode, Lewis and Martell had a conversation because they had had a bro talk, and Lewis took the bro talk back to his wife, who then took it back to Tisha. So Marceau did not like that. And I think that's why Lewis was not at this steak meal, because Marceau wants to be able to have a conversation without everything getting back to Tisha. He wants to be with the gentleman that he normally trusts and know that he can say anything to them, and they're not going to go back and tell things so that it gets back to his wife. Because quite frankly, men do like to have conversations with their friends that do not get back to their wives. And if they have the conversation with their wife, they want to have it in due time. I've done the same thing. I used to have conversations with my girlfriend. Now I tell my husband everything, but after this many years, but I have in the past told girlfriends information that I just didn't want to share with my husband. I digress. In his confessional, Marceau says, here I go, Marceau says he got a lot off his shoulders And he believes that a lot of people got a lot off of their shoulders. And we all know he did get a lot off of his shoulders because he admitted to being depressed at the dinner. So they're just showing everyone packing. This is their last day. They show Melody packing, then they show Destiny packing. Everyone is packing up, getting ready to leave. And looking at them, you can tell they do not know how to pack. When we go somewhere, we always army pack. We roll up everything. And you could tell they were just throwing things in the suitcase, packing things in. Bad packing skills. You all need to learn how to pack efficiently. They show Kimmy and Tisha talking. One moment, you guys, I'm sorry. I was going to try to come on here like completely live. I just want to pause and say I was going to try to come on here completely live. I'm going to do Vlog Sphere after this, and I'm going to go on there completely live. The reason I didn't come on here completely live is because I knew my head would be down the whole time looking at notes, and I want to be able to look at the screen. When I'm on Vlog Sphere Talk, that is my workplace journal type of video, and it's easy for me to remember everything that happened in my own life. Whenever I'm doing reviews and commentaries, I have notes and I find myself looking down a lot. That is why I didn't come on completely live here, but I'm going to have to like fix up my back here and have a screen where the information comes up so that I do not have to look down. I digress with that too. You guys can get down in the comments and tell me what you thought about Love and Marriage Huntsville. Just let me know what your thoughts were about it. And don't wait on me to say something and then you comment. I want to know that you watched it because I have some trolls here from either my employer or Google, and they don't even watch the show. They just come on here to troll and to watch me because they are ignorant. But for those of you who do watch the show, I would like to see and hear what you think. Kimmy and Tisha are in Tisha's room, and Tisha admits something that she has never admitted on the show before because Tisha is always saying, I'm secure in my marriage, I'm confident. She puts on this air. However, in this scene with her and Kimmy, she tells Kimmy, the last 3 years of our marriage have been rocky. And she has on this really beautiful orange hat. I don't know what is going on with Tisha this season, but she is bringing it. I love her fashion, her hair, her makeup, her skin. She is looking really beautiful in every scene, you guys. She's bringing it. Whoever she is getting advice from, whether it's in her own head or a makeup artist or whomever, she needs to keep that person because she is really everything that she's wearing is fashionable. It's just beautiful. I love it, Tisha. I meant Tisha. I didn't say Kimmy. Kimmy, take notes from Tisha. Okay. But she admits that her marriage has been rocky. And there have been a lot of talk out here on these YouTube streets about Tisha and Marsau. I don't want to give into that talk or that language. I do want their marriage to last because I can see very clearly she's very much in love with her husband. She is also in love with the idea of them having a cohesive family. I don't want them to be ruined. I hope there's not another baby out there. Do I think he has cheated? Absolutely. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there because I just believe that Mel knows something. I believe that what she exposed of them 2 seasons ago and a little bit last season, and even in the way that the whole Vegas church scene where they were supposed to be talking about vows and all of that, the way that that scene transpired, the look on Mel's face, Martell's confessional when he said that he could tell that Tisha loves Marsau, and that it's too bad it's not a two-way street or something like that, he said. You have to go back and look at it. All of those things, all of that information I am putting in my head and thinking these people know something on Marsau that Tisha might not know. And even last season, whenever Marsau and the fellas were going out to the lake together and they were going camping, and Tisha was concerned because Marsau took the sports car instead of the Jeep. And she was like, "Why do you have to take that car?" And Wanda was in there talking about something that had to do with a woman. She was giving hints of it. Marsau is also, you know how you have grandparents, and of course my grandparents have passed on, rest their soul. They were the absolute best grandparents ever in the history of the universe. I love my grandparents, my maternal grandparents. They used to have a saying because my grandmother and her siblings got along really good. We used to have dinners at her siblings' house on Sundays, or either we would have dinner at my grandparents' house on Sundays. It was just a family thing on Sundays when I was growing up. And wherever she and her siblings were, and she had a lot of siblings, a lot of them, there was always laughter and talking. And as children, you're in tune to what's being said, even though you're just playing around the house. I would often hear my grandparents or one of her siblings, one of her sisters say, he ain't got good sense. They would say, Lord of mercy. Well, he ain't got good sense. That's what I think of Marsau. Marsau ain't got good sense. I digress. I just had to say that. Kimmy tells Tisha, this is the same scene with Kimmy and Tisha in Tisha's room in Vegas as they are packing and getting ready to go. She says to Tisha, when the Scots, sometimes you have to compromise when you're married to a Scot. Really, Kimmy? That's where you guys are at your age? At your age, that's where and I'm older than you guys. And that's where you all are. You're in your 30s or 40. Well, Kimmy's probably in her 40s because she has a son who has just finished college. But this is where she is. Sometimes we have to compromise with them. Do they ever compromise with you? Because we know from earlier in the season, Maurice doesn't even tell you what's going on either. You don't know what's going on half the time. So Kimmy goes on to tell Tisha, so when they can't, meaning their husbands, when their husbands can't be there for us and the kids, then we got to be there for us and the kids. And I know this is Kimmy's way of letting Tisha know that she's going to be there for Tisha no matter what, because we know Kimmy doesn't have kids, to be there for, really. Her son's a grown man, so she has to be talking about Tisha when she says the kids. They give each other a hug, and she does tell Tisha, if you need anything, please call me. I wonder if Kimmy knows something or if this is all a response to what they are witnessing in the relationship of Tisha and Marsau. They next show Tiffany and Lewis, and I hope you guys don't mind, but I'm so annoyed by not Tisha. I am so annoyed by Tiffany. I don't want to cover her and Lewis at all. I just don't. So I won't. I'm gonna cover the heavier parts in this episode. In Tisha's confessional, after the meeting, in between the meeting of Kimmy and Tisha in Tisha's room, in Tisha's confessional, she says the trip was a weird miss of stuff, but really good for Kimmy and me. This is what I dislike about Tisha, her phonetics. She didn't say the trip was a weird mix of stuff. She said the trip was a weird miss of stuff. Like MISS. That is so annoying to me. I cannot take grown people not having their phonetics together, and especially educated grown people. I would give her a break if she didn't have 2 master's degrees. She has 2 master's degrees. She does not need a break. She needs to take a serious public relations course or voice diction I highly recommend voice diction. Every university has it. Any university that has journalism and communications as a major has voice diction courses, and they have PR courses. And I really want Tisha to get on board with that. That is what she needs to do because these phonetics, you're almost 40 years old and your phonetics are this way. You cannot continue to revert back to your childhood and saying, this is how I grew up, mispronouncing words. We all know Wanda ain't got good sense, ain't got sense enough to pronounce a word with her crazy self. Walking around here, she got grown children and she is on television acting a pure D mess. A pure D mess, you guys. Okay? As Miss Misha would say, girl, it's a fool. But I digress. Back at the kitchen, Martell, Marsau, and Maurice, all the M's and no L. Martell asked Marsau, so how do you think the trip went overall? How do you think the overall trip went? Marsau says, well, I just wanted all the friends to get together as a friend group. It's been, we just have not been able to do that. And that's what he wanted. Really, Marsau? Because please remember, back before the trip, when you all were at Black and you were having the meeting with Kimmy's son, Jalen, you and Tisha were putting up the chairs, and Tisha suggested this trip with all the friends. So now you're sitting there taking credit for it. That's real depressed. You're so depressed you don't forgot whose idea it was. Martell brings up Marsau's admittance the night before about his own depression. And then Martell says that he himself might be depressed without even knowing it. And maybe that's where a lot of his anger is coming from. You know, this is great. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Black men need to know this, especially Black men this age. These gentlemen are having a real adult conversation about how they are feeling, and they are having that conversation with each other, which these types of conversations, when I was growing up as a kid, these kinds of conversations did not take place amongst men, whether they were educated or not. Men were a little more macho and laid back when it came to their feelings because they were busy trying to define themselves as a man. And I love this scene. I love it so much. I really do, especially when Martell intervenes and starts talking about it. And Martell is exactly right. When you see people who are really angry, anger is a front for sadness. For those of you who do not know this, when you see people who are angry, they really, the more angry they are, the deeper their sadness is. He is absolutely right. He might be depressed. And going through a divorce will depress you. That is why they have a whole separate entity of counselors for marriage counseling. Because divorce is like a death. It really is. It's like a death. This is a person you were married to, you wanted to spend the rest of your life with, regardless of what we think about Martell and his adultery in the marriage, and how we all know he was never going to stop that had Mel stayed, because his adultery was taking place even before the show aired, you guys. It was taking place before the show aired. A lot of people say Mel took over because Mel has always wanted to be on TV. If you read her history, she wanted to be an actress, she wanted to be a singer. She has always wanted to be in this limelight that she's getting. And the show was actually her idea. So a lot of people are saying that because it was her idea, she might have been planning to use this show to expose the cheating and to expose her moving on the way that we have seen, which I wouldn't put it past her. She's very bright. You guys know Mel is my girl. I love Mel. I always have a favorite on these shows, on these reality shows. that I comment on and do reviews on. I have a favorite. Mel is my favorite, even though sometimes I have to do a slight little drag of her. I'm not going to drag her too much because I like her. She's credible. She's extremely intelligent, and she's beautiful, and she's a go-getter, and she's strong. I really like her. Marsau says what he has done this past year, he will never do again. He says this to the guys. He says, what I've done this past year, I will never do again. And that is give up time for money. It seems as though Tisha's initiation to take them to a marriage counselor has worked, because this is one of the points that was brought up in that session where they met with the marriage counselor that he no longer wants to go back to. Even though he doesn't want to go back to the counselor, he is getting something out of the process, and I believe it has made him be more introspective without us even knowing about it, because he wants us to see that hard shell of a man that he always likes to be, when in reality he is doing some work on himself internally, and we're just not seeing it. And the reason I'm saying that is because he's saying things out loud in these last two episodes that we never would ever imagine Marceau to say. This is one of the things that Tisha wants him to do, is to not give up time for money. So it's working. I believe their marriage is going to work. It's going to take it a while. And listen, at least none of us are married to him, right? Tisha's married to him. And that so that's the good thing here. He is the Scots. The Scots are what you call high achievers. Even though they say they grew up poor, they are high achievers. And a lot of high achievers grew up very humble. A lot of us who are Black Americans grew up as high achievers back in the day. What's his name? What's the other M's name? There are so many M's. Okay, I just finished talking about Marceau. I talked about Marta. Okay, Maurice. Maurice. Maurice says he has learned something through this whole process. He says that he admits that he is very goal oriented and he is a high achiever. He said a lot of what Marceau is describing, he experiences it every day. In fact, he said to Marceau, he said, what you have just described is how I feel daily as an employer, and I'm a high achiever. So I love this conversation. I really love it. So at the end, they all toast, all the M's without the L, they all toast. I loved that meeting. I'm really glad that the three M's were there, because they are the original part of the show. And I liked seeing that interaction. It just gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling all over. And the fact that they are three Black men having this conversation was amazing to me. And it is so important for other Black males to see this. Back in the room, as they're finishing, are they ever going to get done packing? Or am I ever going to get through this? Okay. Mel says overall, this Vegas trip was a disaster for her because her peace was disturbed. Being under the same roof with Martell multiple days is a no-go for her in the future. She did not like the trip. I understand she did not like the trip. At the same time, Mel has to bear some responsibility for her role in disrupting her own peace. There are times when we are around people that we do not, people who we do not want to be around. And we cannot allow that to cause us to lose self control. whether it's, a family member at a cookout or a friend out to eat somewhere, it's important to maintain that dignity for the time being. Now, I will tell you this week, I don't like the people that I work with. I love the director just because he seems like he has a heart. But the other people I do not like. I cannot stand my boss. He is like the devil. He's evil. He is the most evil, vile thinking person. He is constantly sitting around thinking of ways that he can jab at me. I'll talk about that on Block Spear Talk. He is an evil being. So for people like that, I don't care if I go in on you. I don't care. You deserve to be gone in on, and I just don't respect you. So I just don't care about you. I digress. Destiny, they show her in her confessional. She's talking about the trip. She's talking about she hopes that she and Tiffany can move forward. If they move forward, good. If not, good as well. She's just ready to get home to her baby. Now I'm going to only move forward and talk about the highlights because I do need to get over to Vlogsphere, and I also need to prepare for Real Housewives of Potomac tonight, possibly Salt Lake City. I have not been reviewing Salt Lake City. I do need to get ready for Real Housewives of Potomac. In one of the scenes on this episode 12, Mel and Tiffany comes to visit Mel at her shop where she has all of her gear that she's going to be selling, and it's the name of it is God Says Go. I love that title. I'm going. I heard it was very expensive, but I'm going to go on and try to buy a cap and uh, one of the shirts that I saw that I liked on the show, and some other things. I'm going to go in and try to get some of her God Says Go fashion. Tiffany comes to visit her at the shop. And this is what really got to me about Mel. Mel apologized to Tiffany for what Destiny said back in Vegas. Why is Mel so into Tiffany? I'm trying to understand, is this, as executive producer, is this something she is doing just to keep a lineage of a story going on the show? Or is this something she's doing because she's really apologizing to Tiffany for Destiny? No one owes Tiffany an apology at all. Tiffany owes everyone else an apology. Tiffany needs to take all the ladies out for drinks and appetizers somewhere and just have a speech prepared and apologize and have some little gift baskets that she can give around to everybody because she has been a hot A mess on this show. I don't want her to come back next season. In fact, the only reason that I've changed, that I've even thought about possibly bringing her back is because of the conversation that we're about to discuss with regards to Martell and her husband's conversation at the gym. Because I do believe her husband has brought some kind of balance between the men, even though I don't like how he's always running his mouth to her just so she can go back and tell everything. I don't like reality shows like that. I don't. I like grown adult reality shows. I don't like these little reality shows where, oh, I'm going to tell you so you can go tell this one. That is so ninth grade. You're grown people. You have got to, Carlos King, get rid of Tiffany Whitlow. Unless she is going to come back next season and talk about her own story, because she's been married before, so we want to know what happened to that marriage for real. Did you cheat? Were you and Lewis cheating together, and that's how you both ended up in a divorce because you both skipped out on your spouses? Are your spouses remarried? Do you guys go to church together? How do you co-parent? Show us your storyline about how you co-parent, because you said you do that so well. Let us see that. Let us see what you do at the chamber, since you are so freaking popular about the chamber. I mean, even Tisha knew that you worked at the chamber. Let us see all of that about you. And I just disagreed with the apology. At the same time, Destiny needs to let us know what happened in her marriage, because word on the curb, honey, is you cheated on LeBaric or Cedric or whatever his name is, the chicken man. I like Cedric or Laderic or whatever his name is. I like him as well. I like the way he thinks as a human being, and I thought that he was really good for the group as well. I did hear Destiny cheated, and maybe that's why she doesn't want to talk about it. Go ahead and talk about it, girl, because we already talking about it. So you may as well go ahead and put it out there. We're gonna say what we're gonna say when we say it, and how we say it, and that's just it. Okay, go ahead and put it out there. Next, they show Martell and Martell's son, Martell Jr., MJ. He is so handsome. He's Mel and Martell got some really pretty children. He's so cute, and I love how Martell took him to the gym. You know, Dad takes son to the gym to get him involved in baseball, and Lewis is the connection there. And what did he say? I cannot recall, but he said something that was really cute. They asked him something about if he was ready, and he said, "I'm always going to be ready." And I was like, that is definitely Martell and Mel's son, okay? That kind of confidence, that's definitely Martell and Mel's son. At any rate, while he is practicing hitting the ball with the bat, he's doing a really good job there. He's enjoying it. He's definitely athletic. It's in him. Martell said it's in him. It was in me. He's my son, so it's in him. I love it. Martell starts to talk to Lewis about his decision to have a conversation with Mel to gain full custody of the children, because he thinks they are spending too much time with the babysitters. They're spending 2 days out of the week with a baby with Mel, and the rest of the other 5 days are with a babysitter. So this is where I like Lewis. This is what I really like about Lewis. He gives Martell some really good advice, and I believe based on the meeting with Martell and Melody, Martell took that advice in. And that's what needs. Martell, you have to remember, is a young man who grew up no dad in the household. Having that connection with other men is pertinent for him. Having that brohood, that dialogue with other men is very important. And I believe whenever he hears certain men speak in a respectable way, he does take it in. Because Lewis told him to be careful how he talks to Mel, and I'm paraphrasing, but he let him know that it would not be good for him to get angry if this is the conversation he's going to have with her, because she's probably going to be angry already, and no matter what she does, you stay calm. That's basically what he told him, which was grand advice. So that right there is why I would want Lewis and Tiffany to come back next season. But outside of that, Tiffany can step. They can even just bring back Lewis and leave Tiffany over at the chamber. Next scene is where there's dinner with Marsau, Tisha, and Maurice and Kimmy. The highlight of this dinner, and I'm only going to talk about the highlight because they are talking about Marsau's depression. Kimmy brings it up. She says, "That really surprised me whenever you admitted to being depressed." And what's the other M? Maurice. Maurice says to Marsau that he should talk to someone about that. This is where my grandparents would say, Marsau ain't got good sense. Marsau immediately shoots down that decision. He is refusing to talk to anyone about his depression. He's not going to do that. So Tisha says, I didn't even know this about him. I didn't even know that he was depressed. And she says to him, this is a caveat. She says, so if you need anything, just let me know because I don't want anything to happen to you. I want to be there for you. So if there's anything I can do, let me know. He turns to her and you know what he says? Well, you can listen more. Girl. Oh, even if I was a fly on the wall, I would have came down and bit him. Dude has no respect for his wife. He has no connection to his wife in terms of her needs. He is not connected with her at all. That is bothersome to me as much as I want their marriage to work because she wants it to work. That is why I want it to work. Other than that, I would want her to do a Mel. I want her to do a Melody Holt on him. She's not going to do it. She doesn't have that kind of strength that Mel has. If she does in the future, it would definitely surprise me. She might have it when she might gain that strength over the next 10 years as the children get older and are preparing to leave high school and go to college. Some women do gain that strength. I, I know 3 couples who have been married 27 and another one 32 years, another one 28 years, and they divorced. Two of them divorced. One of them was in the process of getting a divorce, and as they were preparing to get back together, my friend passed away a couple of weeks ago of COVID. And they were actually preparing to get back together. And I'm not as teary-eyed when I talk about these things now because so much has happened this year. But at any rate, I digress on that. I'm just saying that Tisha may decide to do that in the coming years. I believe right now she is not ready for it because the children are still young, and she has said she doesn't want to end up being a single mother. And I do not want her to be that way. She's going to have to be strong in this marriage against whatever Marsau is saying. She may even at one point just have to let him go on and be Marsau and just develop a plan to get out of the marriage. You know how we do as women, we plan. Okay. We plan and you walk in and either we're gone or your stuff is on the curb. Okay. So I didn't like that comment with him. The next scene is Mel and Martell. This is the last scene. They're meeting for dinner or lunch or something. Mel walks in. She sits down. She tells he's wanting to buy her food, and she said, "No, thank you. I'm fasting." She probably does intermittent fasting. That has become very popular over the past couple of years because Hollywood people intermittently fast. I intermittently fast as well. I love it. I love it. When you come out of a fast, as you're going through the fast, because I'm so dependent on food, when I come out of the fast, I almost don't even want to eat. If you have enough electrolytes or enough fluid in your system, you can literally go 30 days. The most I've gone fasting has been 14 days. I did it straight. And that was before I knew that you had to have electrolytes in your body. I just went on a fast and mine was and I can talk about it now. Normally, I don't tell people when I'm fasting because when I fast, most of the time it is for my relationship with God. It is for a spiritual reason. So I will spend time reading my Bible and praying, and that is my food. Reading my Bible and talking to God, that's my food. And every time I gain energy, I do not need to eat. If I get hungry and I read my Bible and I pray, and I'm talking read my Bible, I'm talking reading and studying the Bible for like an hour. And when I'm done, I don't have to eat. I don't even think about food. No, it's amazing. It's fasting is amazing. Whenever those of us who are planning eternal life, those of us who are going to have eternal life, we're not going to be eating in the kingdom anyway. We're not going to be filling our body with all this junk, chocolate chip cookies and stuff. I digress. This is the end of the scene. And the thing I want to talk about in this scene is Martell says he has receipts. He's going through his phone. He is telling Mel. They start out the conversation really good. He asks her how's she doing, and Martell has that country side to him that I really love because I'm used to it here, being raised and brewed here in North Carolina. A lot of men talk like Marsau with that country side to them, and I love it. I love it. It reminds me of home up in the mountains because now I'm in Charlotte, so I'm in the big city now. I'm not in the country town. At any rate, Martell is saying to Melody that the children are spending too much time with the babysitter. And as he starts to name off his receipts to Melody, Melody has her receipts in her mind. She's like, no, you remember the reason I had to get a babysitter that time is because you were supposed to pick the kids up at 2 o'clock and you weren't there. And you told me that you wouldn't be able to do it for like 4 hours. So I had to get a babysitter because I had to go to Atlanta. Okay. So Melody has receipts as well. He's sitting there, and this is what Martell does. I told you all last episode, whenever I did the review, Martell has a pathology to him. And even though I like his demeanor at lunch, I love it, the pathology is still there. It is almost as if it has become even more strategic. And Melody gets upset. He can see she's getting upset. And he's saying, can you calm down like now? So I like that, Martell. That's what a man does. I'm going to tell you, if you don't know this, a real man controls the room. A real man controls the room. They make things better in the atmosphere. They make things civil in the atmosphere. Women, we're just hospitable. Long as we can get the food ready and do some other things, decorate, make sure the social atmosphere is good, we're fine. Men control the dynamics of the room. And that is what I saw Martell doing. And I normally I don't see him doing this. He did do this in this scene, and I really liked it. Melody was still getting upset. She keeps bringing up, why didn't you leave your genitals in your pants? She says all the words. She says the D word, the P word, in different scenes in this season. She has said that to him almost every episode. You should have kept your blank in your pants. And she's basically saying to him, I think with that statement, she's saying to him, had you done that, we wouldn't be in this predicament of always having to find babysitters anyway. And that was the last scene. Melody gets up, she walks away because he finally asked her for 100% custody of the children. And Melody says, I'm not even going to entertain this conversation with you. Now, I want to know with Martell's not paying child support, you all. He is not paying child support. I'm going to tell every woman out there, don't you ever let your man or your husband get away without paying child support. Because what he's trying to do is get the child support for Melody, because Melody is the only one working constantly right now. And he realizes if he gets the kids, he's going 100% of the time, she's going to have to pay him child support. I believe that is what is going on in his head. The other option I am thinking of is, where did I go? Where did I go in my mind? Where did I go? Oh, the other thing I'm thinking of is, when is Martell going to have time to raise the children 100% of the time when he is supposed to be working on his builder's license? And take it from someone who had to go through the real estate process. You're going to need to study for your, and I wasn't even doing a builder's license. He's going to need to know codes and everything. He's going to need to study. At least with real estate, you have these scenarios and you can figure things out. And you have a lot of terminology that you need to know. and just a little bit of math, it's not as difficult as the builder's license. He is going to need to know that stuff, and he's going to need to study. Therefore, he's not going to be able to be with those children without them having a babysitter as well. They're going to need a babysitter. That was the end of this season 3, episode 12, Big Depression Energy, and I'm done with that. But let me tell you, when they started showing the future scenes, I was thinking that they only had maybe 1 or 2 more episodes to go, because I'm almost done with Love and Marriage Huntsville as I was with Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I am really ready for them to be over with, and I'm just ready for them to be over with. However, now I'm not ready for them to be over with whenever I saw those scenes. It's gonna be fire. Fire, fire. And Wanda needs, when you're a grown woman out there, let me tell you, keep your hands to yourself. Unless it is your friend or your family member or someone you know real well, don't be going around pushing people's shoulders. Wanda is a bully. I don't care if people do compliment her on her looks in these shows. I don't like her. She's loud and she's a bully. She's up there touching Mel's mom, and she's talking to her. You don't know Mel's mom, and we know you don't know her. Mel's mom is a different breed, honey. She would never hang out with you. Mel would not hang out with, I'm telling you, Mel's mom. Now, Martell's mom might hang out with Miss Wanda a little bit, just because Miss Martell's mom is, friendly. She seems like she might be a little open to almost anyone, but she wouldn't be around her too long before Miss Wanda started running her mouth, and she'd have to probably pop her, you know. However, Mel's mother is a different breed. She's a very different breed. She doesn't hang out with just any old woman. She would never be in the company of Miss Wanda. That just would not happen. And in one of the scenes, we see her tell Wanda, "Don't put your hands on me." I cannot wait to see that scene. I cannot wait to see that scene. I don't want to see anything physical or anything like that. At the same time, I do want to see what happens after she says, "Don't put your hands on me." And so I digress. It's been 48 minutes, too long. I was trying to keep it at 30. That's why I narrowed down this last part, because I've got to go over to Vlogsphere Talk, get on live, and talk about 5 minutes about what's going on in my work life, kind of give something over there. I want to tell this to you. YouTube, I tried to communicate this yesterday during my Saturday morning live coffee with Breezy. And I think I did not say it right when I listened to it back. I said video and I meant channel. Y- YouTube, Google has come up with a process, and I do believe they did this because of the nosy stuff, okay? They've come up with a process wherein if you have more than one channel, they have a process wherein they are going to take down every single one. If they have to take down one channel, they're going to take down all of them. They're cutting back on people creating more channels, so that whenever they take down one, you go to the other one and create the same content that they just took down your other channel for. And that's one thing. The other thing is, and I have to be careful because I talk about COVID a lot, and I have some very um, out there ideas about COVID and the vaccine as well. However, you cannot talk negatively about the vaccine. And I just want to know, who the F do they think they are? Trying to tell people what they can. If people don't like the vaccine, they should be able to talk about it. If people have information to present on their channels about the vaccine, they should be able to talk about it. But these people, they love, I told you, that particular culture, they love the slave master mentality. They love being slave master. They love telling people what to do because they don't have large genitals. Look at them. They're gone now. That was Google up here. They couldn't take it. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great evening. Remember to look at Real Housewives of Potomac tonight, starting at 8 p.m. Can't wait to see it. And I will see you in the next one. Many blessings to you.